Hi everyone, this is Katie Pritchard, Program Head for Adapted Physical Education in Howard County Public School System. I'm also the current president of the Maryland Adapted PE Consortium. We're going to be sharing some best practices with you today on accommodating students with disabilities in PE. Jen Hill, who works in Wacomico County Public Schools and was our 2018 Shape Maryland Adapted PE Teacher of the Year, has contributed to this presentation, but because she's a few hours away, she has given me permission to share her information with you. We also have Melissa Orgera, who is an adapted PE teacher here in the Howard County Public School System.
We're going to start by talking about best practices for instruction. Students are diverse and learn in a variety of ways. Some students might learn best by listening to directions, while other students might need pictures or written words in order for them to understand the content. Therefore, it's important to differentiate instruction to provide all students with what they need to learn the content. Information needs to be presented to students in a variety of ways. In addition to verbal directions, the teacher needs to provide visuals such as diagrams, pictures, or picture cards so that the students can see the activity or skill they are being asked to demonstrate. Students should also be shown a physical demonstration of the skill and activity so they can see what is required. During the activity or skill practice, the student may require extra verbal prompts or visuals to demonstrate the skill. Verbal prompts should be concise, specific, and tell students what they should do. For example, during a tossing activity, the student may need verbal prompts to stand on the red spot, to hold the ball, and to demonstrate a tick-tock motion with their arm. It is important to give students wait time to complete the tasks and not to over-prompt them. Visuals paired with verbal prompts is an effective way to instruct students without over-prompting. Physical prompting or hand-over-hand assistance can be an effective way to teach students the correct way to demonstrate a skill through muscle memory. However, it is important to fade the physical prompting so students don't become prompt dependent. At first, a student may need full physical prompting to use an underhand tossing motion. The teacher should then fade the prompting to a partial physical prompt by tapping the student's arm or hand in the direction it should swing. Your support staff can be an effective resource in your class. Provide them with task cards, picture cards, modification lists, and any other helpful resources to encourage their assistance and participation in your class with their student.
These are some examples of differentiated instruction using technology, specifically using an iPad. The picture on the left is of a student's communication device, and for any students who require the use of a communication device in school, they should be traveling with that device throughout the school day. So that, of course, includes physical education. A support staff member who supports the student in PE could use their device to check for understanding while the general ed PE teacher is giving directions or instructing the group. So, for example, if a general ed PE teacher is asking the students to say different cues of a skill out loud, perhaps the adult who's supporting a student who may not be a verbal communicator could be using this device to have that student communicate in their own way the level of understanding that they have with the directions, with the given skill or activity. The picture on the right is a screenshot of the ChoiceWorks app for the iPad. ChoiceWorks allows you to individualize things as much as you want for a student within the PE class. So you could use it for just their warm-up. You could use it with a student or group of students for the entire, as a representation of the entire PE class. ChoiceWorks has some pictures within the app, but it also allows you to use your iPad to take a photo of something. So if a student is expected to go sit on a poly spot for instruction, that could be the first item on their PE schedule, and there could be a picture of a poly spot. The app allows you to apply a timer to any items on the schedule that may need a specific amount of time. So if a student is expected to do a certain fitness exercise or activity for 1 minute or 2 minutes, you can set the timer and it'll make a noise when that amount of time is up. And this is all within the app. And then after that, the student can touch and drag the schedule item over to the right-hand column. So this provides students with a clear expectation of what they need to do in PE, and it's a great way to reach learners who may learn more visually and who may need that additional support and additional structure.
Visual aids are an effective way to help with student learning. The use of visual aids and picture schedules can help add structure, clear expectations, and routine to your class. Schedules can show what the entire class will be doing, or can be made specifically for one student to complete various tasks, skills, or activities throughout your class. These visual aids tell the students what skill or activity to do, for how long or how many repetitions to do it, and when they get to have a break or earn some type of reward. Programs like BoardMaker and Symbol Sticks have pictures and templates to help make these visuals and schedules. If you don't have access to these programs, you can take pictures or find pictures online to make your own. First Then charts and countdown strips are other visual aids that can assist students in understanding what is expected of them. First Then charts, like the pictures on the left and in the middle, provide students with a visual representation of what skill, activity, or behavior they need to demonstrate, along with the next task or reward they will receive after completing the task. They can also have reminder behaviors at the top that students can refer to throughout the class for things like listening, doing their work, having a quiet voice, or keeping their hands to themselves. The countdown strip on the right provides students with a visual of how many repetitions of a task they have completed and how many are left. Another best practice is to make all activities accessible for all students. One way to make activities accessible is to make modifications to the activity or the space. When participating in station activities, some students may need to stay at one station to allow more time for the student to learn and practice the skill. Other students may need to move through the stations faster to keep the student engaged and to reduce the likelihood of distracting behaviors. During activities, students can be positioned closer to targets. A variety of targets can be used that are larger, include motivating visuals, and include auditory feedback. A variety of equipment can be used, such as objects that are lighter, larger, have different textures, include sound, and are different colors. When designing activities, it's also important to use a progression from most basic to more advanced. Basic skills should be introduced, and then the difficulty level and complexity can be increased as the student acquires the skills and requires less prompting and modifications. Safety is always a priority when designing activities. Be sure to use equipment, skills, and activities that are age appropriate. Consider how to best organize the equipment, activities, and students based on the student's abilities and behaviors. We're now going to look at specific examples to modify kicking activities. The skills, equipment, and activities should be designed for the student's unique needs. Equipment should be scaffolded from large and slower moving to small and faster moving. Sport Time makes a sensory soccer ball that is slower moving and assists students in dribbling using small taps while keeping the ball closer to their body so they don't have to chase after the ball if they kick it too far. A partially deflated ball can also be used to help keep the ball close and from rolling too far away from the student. A kicking tee, half-dome cone, and deck ring can also be used to keep the ball stationary when students are kicking to targets or peers. Modifications can be used to help students who use wheelchairs or other assistive devices. Students could use a larger ball, such as an exercise ball. Equipment could also be added to the student's wheelchair or device to assist them with kicking and dribbling. We're going to talk about some examples of modifications that can be used for catching activities. To assist students in understanding how to catch, you can modify and simplify the cue words that you say to the students as they're demonstrating the skills. You can use different words such as reach, grab, pull, give it a hug, and use an alligator chomp. To help students be more successful, you can use various objects that vary in size, grip, texture, and color. You can also allow students to choose which object they want to catch in order to increase their motivation. The teacher can also use a progression of catching activities depending on the skill level of the student. The student could be positioned in a seated position on the floor, in a chair, or standing for different levels of difficulty. Some students may be very distracted in the PE environment and may feel the urge to walk or wander around the environment. By having students sit down to focus on catching, it allows the students to just focus on those catching actions and reduces the amount of assistance that you need to provide the student for standing in one place and allows you to provide more cues and feedback for the catching motion. A student who is beginning to learn how to catch can first catch a ball rolled to them on the ground. Catching a suspended ball provides a more predictable path that the ball will travel and eliminates having to retrieve the ball. You can also allow the student to choose which object they want to catch in order to increase motivation. We're now going to talk about modification examples for throwing and tossing activities. To assist students in understanding how to perform the skills, you can modify and simplify the cue words. A student working on the more basic cues for throwing can focus on touching the ball to their throwing hand, side, ear, and then extending their arm forward. The cue for stepping can be added once the student consistently demonstrates the arm movement. A more advanced student can work on turning their body sideways by making a T with their body. For tossing, you can use the cues tick-tock to describe the basic arm motion and then add in the cue for stepping when the student has grasped the arm motion. The teacher can modify the equipment to help students be more successful during throwing and tossing activities. Different types of objects can be used that have various sizes, weight, shape, grip, and texture. Poly spots can be used to help students know where to stand. Foot spots can be used to help students step with their opposite foot. Students can also stand at different distances from the target and use targets of different sizes. You can also modify the throwing activity to help the student be more successful. A student who is just beginning to learn how to throw or toss or has a difficult time standing still can begin to learn the skill by sitting on a stool or a chair or a mat.
These are some examples of how to adapt striking activities for students with disabilities. A student with a disability may need simplified cues such as tick, tock, strike, and they may need an adult or a peer to say these cues each time they practice a skill, at least at the beginning, until they're able to retain it and then hopefully apply it more independently. Putting tape on striking implements can be a really good way to demonstrate hand placement for students and will allow them to figure out the right way to grip the implement more independently versus an adult needing to tell them each time where to place their hands. Anything that you can put in the environment to give students feedback will be beneficial. So if you're working on backswing, having a student reach back and tap the top of a cone or tap a spot that you've taped on the wall for their backswing will encourage the proper form. Depending on the student's skill level, they may need to be closer to targets and work on skills at a basic level. For example, some students may need to work on striking a stationary object versus volleying back and forth with a partner.
There are best practices that teachers should use to create a positive learning environment for all students. Some students may be sensitive to the loud noises or music in the gym. You may need to lower the music volume, position students away from the speakers, or allow students to wear headphones. Providing a structured environment helps students to understand the boundaries and physical space in the gym. Using equipment and resources with colors and numbers can help designate and differentiate different areas of the gym. Tape on the floor and cones can help designate a defined area for an activity and can be used to guide students in the direction or path they should travel. When you are organizing your equipment for an activity, be mindful of the arrangement so that all students can navigate as safely and as independently as possible.
These are some examples of behavioral supports that you can put in your environment to support students. The picture on the left has some behavioral reminders that all students can access and that you or your support staff can point out as needed. It's important to provide students with a consistent space within your gym where they can go when they need a break or when they're experiencing behavioral difficulties. The picture on the right is an example of some calm down strategies that could be posted in your gym in a designated area.
As we have already started to discuss, using different and modified equipment can help all students succeed and access learning. The teacher should provide students with a variety of equipment that is lighter, larger, and has a variety of textures and includes sounds. A best practice is to allow students the opportunity to choose which type of equipment they want to use. Pictured here on this slide are some examples of different types of modified equipment. A finger light ball is a lighter object that is lighter than a beach ball but heavier than a balloon. These slower moving finger light balls are great for catching and striking skills. A success ball is a small ball filled with foam pieces that is lightweight and is great for throwing and tossing activities. A bumpy texture ball is a light, medium-sized ball that has a grip that is great for catching. A beeper ball can be used for students with visual impairments to roll, throw, strike, and kick. It can also be placed behind or inside targets to assist students in locating their target. A bell ball can be used with students with visual impairments or to motivate students to throw, toss, catch, or strike. A sensory soccer ball travels slowly and helps students keep the ball close to them when dribbling with their feet. Other modifications to equipment can help students demonstrate skills and participate in activities. Using tape on implements can help students understand where to put their hands when striking with bats, paddles, or clubs. The student in the picture is wearing colored wristbands to help him put the correct hand on the correct tape. Polyspots can be used to show students where to stand. Foot spots can be used to help students step and transfer their weight during throwing, tossing, kicking, and striking skills. Hand and foot spots can be used during balance and gymnastic activities. Arrow spots can be used to show students where to travel, how to rotate between stations, and in which direction to send their equipment.
It's important to communicate with your school's physical therapist about students who have significant physical disabilities. PTs are highly educated in transferring, safe movement for students needing ambulatory devices, and positioning to maximize movement. For example, they may have suggestions on the best way to position a student that allows use of their upper body for manipulative activities. If a student uses a wheelchair to travel throughout the school building, don't assume that they should remain in their chair for all of PE. They may have a gait trainer or a stander that they can use during PE to access activities. On the flip side of that, sometimes remaining in a wheelchair will allow a student to access activities more independently. Students with severe and profound disabilities may need specialized equipment such as a switch. If they have limited range of motion, strength, and voluntary movement, switches can help students demonstrate skills and participate in activities with their peers. It may be worth checking with your special ed department or other service providers to find out if these are available in your school system or if it's possible to get them. If you are searching for more resources on teaching students with disabilities in PE, visit the MAPEC website for past presentations, newsletters, and other resources. To receive our quarterly newsletter and be in the know about upcoming professional development opportunities in Maryland, email mapecboard@gmail.com.